The NAF Council sets the goal and defines the scope of a country's ANF policies, plans, and programs. It also serves as the integrative and consultative structure for intersectoral collaborations and assists the department in broad-based monitoring and coordination of the agri and fishery modernization process. The functions of the NAF Council are the following. To mainstream private sector participation and involvement in the priority, trust, and direction of the Department of Agriculture and ensure multi-stakeholder consultations and dialogues, participatory monitoring and feedback in the implementation of DA banner and other priority programs, these national banner and other priority program committees shall be established and institutionalized. The National Banner Program Committees shall have a chairperson from the private sector and co-chaired by the Undersecretary or Assistant Secretary from the concerned DA Banner programs. NBPC members are as follows. Other priority program committees shall have a chairperson from the private sector and co-chaired by the head of the concerned DA agency. Its members are as follows. The NBPC and OPPCs shall serve as consultative mechanisms for policy development, review of program implementation, and monitoring and feedback of the DA banner and other priority programs. They will also act as venues for immediate and continuing discussions of commodity and industry, as well as emerging issues and concerns affecting various commodity and other sectors. Here are the functions of the National Banner and other priority program committees. The AFYC shall serve as a venue for the full engagement of the youth in agri and fishery development by encouraging them to actively participate in agri and fishery enterprises. The chairperson of the AFYC shall be coming from the private sector and shall be co-chaired by the head of BICAF. Its members are as follows. Here are the functions of the AFYC. At the regional, provincial, city, and municipal levels, the AFCs shall be organized as follows. Each AFC at the regional and local levels shall have an executive committee as well as sectoral and other committees parallel to the national banner and other priority program committees. An agricultural and fishery youthpreneur committee shall likewise be created to form part of the council. The regional and local AFCs shall be composed of the following. The roles of the AFCs are advisory bodies of the DARFOs and LGUs to ensure the success of agricultural and fishery programs and projects, especially enterprise development initiatives towards higher productivity and increased income. Focal entities of government and private sector partnership for the continuing discussion of development problems, issues and concerns facing the agriculture and fisheries sector, with the ultimate aim of finding solutions, giving policy or program recommendations, and facilitating feedback and information flow within the sector. Consultative, integrative, coordinative, and monitoring bodies for regional and local agricultural and fishery commodity value chain initiatives. Here are the functions of the regional and local agricultural and fishery councils. The regional and local AFC executive committees shall be composed of a chairperson, a vice chairperson, and a treasurer from the private sector, and the co-chairperson from the government sector. The sectoral committee chairperson will be the members of the executive committee. Regional and local AFC sectoral committees shall have chairperson and a vice chairperson from the private sector. Its members are representatives of region-wide, province-wide, municipal or city-wide sectoral and youth organizations. In areas where there are fisheries and aquatic resource management councils or FARMCs, their authorized representative shall automatically be a member of the sectoral committee on fisheries and aquaculture. Sectoral committees shall also have regular government sector members. The sectoral committee shall serve as the focal groups in charge of discussing sectoral problems, issues and concerns towards the formulation of policies, plans, programs, projects and activities for the approval of the council through the executive committee. The Executive Committee of Regional and Local AFCs formulates policy recommendations on urgent matters for endorsement to concerned agencies. They review outputs of sectoral committee meetings, prioritize and facilitate endorsements to or implementation by other agencies. They formulate internal policies and resolve matter that needs immediate action. The CAF serves as the unifying structure between and among the NAF Council, Special Budget Committee, National Banner Program Committees and other priority program committees, the Agricultural and Fishery Youthpreneur Council, and the regional and local AFCs. As far as consultation is concerned, the top-down linkages are manifested in the agenda setting and consultation processes. On the other hand, the regional and local AFCs shall tackle issues relative to the agenda as well as other policy concerns affecting the respective areas of concern or sphere of influence. Similarly, the above linkages can also be illustrated in terms of monitoring functions and activities. The top-down process is exemplified in the issuance of monitoring guidelines to the AFCs, which serve to set the parameters in the conduct of monitoring activities. bottom-up process, on the other hand, is demonstrated in the submission of monitoring reports, which serve as feedback on the result of the activities undertaken by the regional and the local AFCs. These reports shall be endorsed to the higher level AFCs for consolidation and ultimately for submission to PCAF and to the NBPCs, NAF Council, and the Department of Agriculture. The figure presents the organization of the AFC at the regional and local levels and shows how the executive committees and sectoral committees as integral part of the AFCs and how they relate from one level to the other. The regional and local AFC sectoral committees mirror the NBPCs, OPPCs, and the AFYC at the national level. The regional sectoral committees are formed in part by PAFC sectoral committee representatives. Provincial sectoral committees, in turn, are formed in part by MAFCs, CAFC sectoral representatives. For the NAF Council, apart from the members specified under the law, criteria for private sector membership are as follows: duly organized and registered national organizations or associations, presence of organizational structure with active national and local leadership, must be in existence for at least 2 years and should be actively involved in the agriculture and fishery policy, advocacy, or implementation of agricultural and fishery development programs, project or activities, and represents a broad membership base or affiliations. For the NBPCs, members from the private sector should be organizations or entities belonging to an agriculture and fishery commodity sector, preferably involved in more than one stage of the commodity value chain system. For the OPPCs, private sector members should be organizations actively engaged in policy advocacy for the advancement of the Department of Agriculture's other priority programs and projects. For the AFYC, private sector members should be organized and actively engaged in youth affairs for the past 3 years under any of the agrupations stated in items 3.2.3 of these guidelines. For the regional and local AFCs, members from the private sector should be organizations belonging to an agriculture and fishery commodity sector, preferably involved in more than one stage in the value chain system. These organizations and their authorized representatives should not be in any way affiliated to any political parties. Organizations shall be allowed only one representation in each council or committee of the AFCs. To formalize membership to the AFCs, all member organizations and individuals are required to enter into a membership agreement with PCAF. The qualifications for regional and local AFC private sector officers and members are as follows: Filipino citizen, an authorized representative of a bona fide agriculture and/or fisheries-related organization, including allied industries and services, or an individual who meet the requirements in accordance with the membership process in the Omnibus Guidelines. Familiar with the national and local agriculture and fisheries situation, including allied industries and services. Possesses strong leadership qualities, and committed to serve voluntarily and fully support all activities of the Council. Except for the NAF Council officers and members from the government sector, which are prescribed by law, officers from the private sector of the AFCs shall be composed of a chairperson who shall come from the private sector and co-chairperson from the government sector. The chairpersons of the NBPCs, OPPCs, AFYC, and regional AFC executive committees shall be appointed by the Secretary. This shall be based on the list of 3 nominees chosen and endorsed to PCAF by concerned committees or council. PCAF shall endorse the list of private sector members to the Secretary for approval. The regional and the local AFC executive committees, however, shall include a vice chairperson and the treasurer, which shall be chosen from among the private sector members. They may also appoint other officers from among its members if deemed necessary. The regional and local AFC Executive Committee officers shall be chosen or nominated from among and by its Executive Committee members. The appointed regional and local AFC Executive Committee chairpersons shall still maintain chairpersonship of the sectoral committee held prior to the appointment or designation. The regional sectoral committee chairperson shall be chosen from among and by the respective sectoral committee members. Chairperson from the private sector shall have the following duties and responsibilities. Co-chairperson from the government sector shall have the following duties and responsibilities. Vice chairperson from the private sector of the regional and local AFCs shall have the following duties and responsibilities. The treasurer shall have the following duties and responsibilities. The sectoral committee chairperson shall have the following duties and responsibilities. Members shall actively participate in all activities of the AFC. In addition, these are the duties and responsibilities of each AFC member. Selection of the local AFC Executive Committee officers as well as the chairperson of their sectoral committees can either be through nomination or election. First, the co-chairperson shall serve as the presiding officer for the nomination of the AFC officers. The presiding officer starts by opening the floor for nomination. Any member of the committee may nominate one from among the private sector member present. Proxy nomination or nomination in absentia is not allowed. Committee members shall nominate at least 3 possible candidates. The presiding officer asks each nominee if he or she accepts the nomination or is willing to take the responsibility in case he or she is appointed. If there are more than 3 nominees, the presiding officers ask all the members of their respective choices. He or she shall state the name of the nominee and ask the members in favor by raising their hands or through other means agreed upon by the council or committee. The Secretariat counts, determines the top 3 nominees and submit their names to PICAF. PICAF endorses the Secretary the top 3 nominees for the selection of the chairperson. In the event that the RAFC Sectoral Committee Chairperson is appointed as Chairperson of the MBPC, he or she shall relinquish all regional designations. The concerned sectoral committee shall nominate a replacement from among the sectoral committee members. In the case of RAFC Executive Committee Chairperson, the executive committee members shall nominate a replacement from among the members. The names and designations of newly chosen officers should be endorsed by the co-chairperson and submitted to PICAF. Pursuant to the DA Administrative Order No. 16, Series of 2019, all officers from private sector shall hold office for 1 year. They may serve for a maximum of 3 consecutive terms, and they are allowed to be selected or nominated provided that they are active and qualified based on the criteria.